Doctor Ronald Lewis was the first American Indian in the U.S. to receive a doctorate in the field of social work. Born into a Cherokee community in Oklahoma, Dr. Ronald Lewis went on to study Native American social work and Indian social problems at the University of Denver. Dr. Ronald Lewis is often referred to as the father of American Indian social work. He was a psychiatric social worker as well as a political activist. Dr. Ronald Lewis developed many health programs for American Indians while also attending the Alcatraz occupation in 1969, as well as the Wounded Knee Standoff in 1973. Dr. Ronald Lewis made many contributions to the American Indian civil rights movement. He published work focused on child abuse and neglect, along with alcoholism and the American Indian. His work during the 1970s helped advocate for the creation of the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. In October of 1969, a fire burned down San Francisco's American Indian Center. American Indian activists formed a group called Indians of All Tribes. This activist group traveled to the island of Alcatraz in November of 1969 in hopes of claiming the island for all the tribes of North America. The American Indians stated that they would use the island for an Indian school, cultural center, and museum. While U.S. government officials attempted to negotiate with the American Indian activists, Native American college students went and joined the activists on Alcatraz Island. The American Indian activists managed to hold their ground, even though they were living in challenging conditions. The activists showed their relentless determination to fight for their own rights. This picture shows activists holding an American flag upside down to disrespect the U.S. government. The American Indians used graffiti as well as flags to send their message to government officials. There were a few markets like the one pictured here on the island. There was not a large supply of food and materials. Many college students and other American Indian activists had to leave Alcatraz to resume attending colleges or their jobs. The American Indian activists took to the water tower as a chance to display their occupation of the island. The water tower reads, "Peace and freedom, welcome, home of the free Indian land." This is a picture of a few young activists in Alcatraz. The occupation of Alcatraz Island marked a change in the social welfare of American Indians and has had a lasting impact on Indian policy in the U.S. By July of 1970, the U.S. government decided to return millions of acres of ancestral Indian land and passed around 50 legislative proposals supporting American Indian sovereignty. The Wounded Knee Standoff of 1973 marked another important event in American Indian social welfare history. Dr. Ronald Lewis was an active participant of this part of American Indian history. Many American Indians fought for their rights. Even though many American Indians were killed, the lasting impact of the Wounded Knee Standoff was important in ensuring that American Indians would receive more rights. This picture depicts a group of American Indians coming together to fight for their rights. This famous occupation of Wounded Knee lasted 71 days. This picture shows two American Indians standing on guard in front of the church at Wounded Knee. This event in American Indian history is considered as one of the American Indian movement's greatest successes. The Wounded Knee Standoff did not bring about immediate changes, but did bring national attention to promoting American Indian rights and culture. Overall, the occupation at Wounded Knee called global attention to the generations of mistreatment made by federal and local agencies. The activists that were at the Wounded Knee Standoff were members of the American Indian movement. Many members of the movement were young and very eager to take a stand. The American Indian movement was very influential. This American Indian civil rights activist organization, founded in 1968, encouraged self-determination among their people and established international recognition of their treaty rights. The Indian Child Welfare Act was adopted by Congress in 1978. This law was put in place to protect the rights of Indian children and their parents. Much of Dr. Ronald Lewis's work helped to create the Indian Child Welfare Act. Dr. Ronald Lewis made many contributions to the American Indian movement. He not only went on to achieve high-ranking degrees in social work, but also spent his time being a political activist. Dr. Ronald Lewis influenced many American Indian students and has had a lasting impact on the American Indian society.